And he came to me at Christmas time 2 years ago, and he's like, Dad, I want to change. I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to be a welder. I said, okay, why? He said, well, I see what you do and I see what you have. I said, that's the wrong answer. Why do you want to be a welder? He says, for the money. I said, that's wrong. He's like, why? I said, son, you need to have passion for the trade. Because if you have passion for the trade, you like it and you love it, the money will come automatically.
All right, welcome back to another podcast, The Lost Art of the Skilled Trades. I'm Andrew Brown. I'm sitting down with John King, the founder of JK Welding. This is the second time, John, that we're sitting down. How's FabTech going for you so far?
It's awesome. FabTech this year is better than ever. I love coming to Chicago, but I love coming to FabTech, and been coming for almost a decade now, and I love it.
Yeah, it's for the people who don't know, who are listening, don't know what FabTech is. It's probably one of the largest welding shows, I would imagine, in the U.S. And they have robotics, automation. I mean, you want like welding fever, like what welding is all about. The community is here. It
is, absolutely. Along with all kind of welding machines and fabrication tools and material handling, just you name it, anything to do with the welding and fabricating industry. And I think you're right. It is the largest welding and fabrication expo in the world.
Yeah. And I remember coming here about 2 years ago and I met you and you're 6'8" or 6'7"?
6'8".
6'8". So you were easy to find in the show. We had met on LinkedIn, yep. Connected, and you said, look for the guy with the cowboy hat. And I found you a couple years ago. But I remember coming to the show and it was just, I was blown away with the excitement of just kind of what's going on here and just the community and, being around other welders who are really passionate about the welding trade. I want to kind of get into this. And I said this to you when we first spoke, and I want to know if you feel the same way. I had said to you, is welding a dying career? And you said the first time around, you said yes. Do you still feel like it's a dying career, or are we turning a corner?
I don't know if it's necessarily a dying career. Just has a lot to do. And I guess my answer to that has a lot of feedback from the fact of just finding skilled, dedicated employees. It's dying in that essence. Does that make sense?
Can you, I guess, expand on that a little bit? Are you talking about people standpoint?
People standpoint.
Is it generational? You think?
I don't know if it's generational. I never have been able to put my thumb on it, and I don't think anybody else really does or can either. It's just there. The skill set is lacking a lot in the industry. And I think that's why people like you and I and a lot of other people just try to do inspirational speeches and motivate people all the time to try to get them into the trade, to understand it. To become a professional welder. I just think it's a dying breed in such essence as lacking trade.
Yeah, I like to focus on Gen Z. And I'm doing this talk tomorrow, FabTech. I have a session, and it's about attracting and inspiring the next generation, or Gen Z. And Gen Z is 13 to 28 years old, right? That's more or less the target to bring those individuals in. Somebody said something. I was at last month, the Welding Summit, which is the American Welding Society Summit, and I had spoke, and somebody said, Gen Z is lazy. And I kind of smiled a little bit. I said, no, they have different motivators. They're different. They're not like us, like our, Gen X or baby boomers. What do you see Gen Z being a little bit different? How do we connect with that generation? Because my assumption is at JK Welding, your organization, you do have Gen Zers who are coming through your organization. How are you reaching them?
We do have some skilled hands that are Gen Z. There's no lie about that. There's a lot of the guys that work for me and girls that are very dedicated and motivated. I don't think that's a necessarily true statement for all of Gen Z. I think there's just a portion of that, but I believe that there was a portion of that in Gen X too, but just not as much. If I had to put it all into one sum, I would have to believe that Gen Z is, at times, various people are softer. Is that a nicer way to put that?
So softer how? Because, and I guess you and I are maybe around the same age, or maybe I'm a little older. I'm not sure. We're not going to talk about ages.
No, we're not.
We're not going to talk about ages. But I remember as a kid, you know, there was nothing on demand for TV. Like we had to wait. If you wanted to see the next show, you had to wait till next week. And that's the way we did it. You sat through a commercial, you played outside. There was no, there was video games. There was no iPads. Like we just did that. Naturally, it's very different with Gen Z and the younger generation. They have a lot of distractions out there. I mean, do you think that's kind of pulling their attention somewhere else?
I think your statement is right in lines with my thoughts. It sometimes is into the fact of, I think there's more options. There's more options.
Tell me about that. What kind of options?
I think there's more variety of options in versus the way it used to be. Used to be there's very few options. I mean, you got down and dirty, you did what you had to do, and there was no other choice. You had to make ends meet. I think there's a lot of other options now as far as like falling back on your parents, or there's some other unique ways of trying to, get a paycheck once a week. I just think that there's just other options,
I feel with Gen Z, and this is just one man's perspective, Gen Z, and I want to expand on your options, that Gen Z can be in IT, they can be in tech, they can be in AI. They look at social media influencers like Mr. Beast, right? And they say, okay, well, maybe I don't want to go down this trades path. I don't want to invest 4 or 5 years into an apprenticeship, and maybe the wages are not there. They tend to look at the wages and they say, apprenticeship wages is $16 to $18 an hour, but I can make, and I'm only bringing this up because I saw this on social media and I brought this into my own channels as well, that they look at apprenticeship wages, but they also look at fast food like McDonald's or Chipotle, where they're making $21, $22 an hour. How can you push back on that and say, no, the trades, you make more money. It just takes time.
It does take time. You have to invest in time. And in time, when you start mastering something or becoming builder skill sets, say, for instance, as a welder, a fabricator, an artist, whatever that might be, in time, the money comes back to you. To where if you worked at McDonald's or Chick-fil-A or whatever it is that you choose, there's really not a whole lot of advancement there for you as far as skill sets to advance, to increase your monies that will come to you later in life.
Right. You're probably staying at 21, 22, unless you climb the ladder.
That's right.
Which is probably a lower percentage, but somebody who is a welder, right, is going to start off slightly lower wages, but is going to work their way up. And I was talking to Tyler Sassy, who we both know, and he was saying the money that kids make, especially coming out of his organization, I was blown away that kids are making $60,000, $70,000 right out of the academy, 6 months, just going through the program, and then sometimes way into the 6 figures, depending upon which path.
That's correct.
But why are kids saying that there's no money in it? What's going on out there that kids are saying that?
I just think there's a lack of motivation. They don't want to do the time. They don't want to do the time to see the results come back to them later. I think a lot of them find it as too difficult, too hard, and there are other options. That's what I think.
So you think it's the other options, and maybe the work ethic is a little bit different?
Oh,
not
yeah.
everybody, but
not everybody. But
not
there
everybody.
is some work ethic that is definitely different now than it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I see that as well. Hey, look, I see with my own kids. I have 2 young
Sure.
kids. They're on
Same
the
here.
iPad, and I try to throw them off, and then they just go onto another device.
Yeah.
And then they hide it. Like, it's just what it is.
That's called other options, Andrew.
Other options. Or they're just on their friend's device.
Right.
But it's difficult. There's only so much that we can do. Take us back to your sort of upbringing. Was there anybody in the trades in your family, or did you find, like, where did you find welding? Does someone say, go be a welder, or you just kind of found it?
No, I actually had several scholarships to go to college, but I decided not to. And I went to go work in a weld shop, and that little blue light just caught my eye. And I had great interest in knowing what it was about and how to do it, and I just started working with a lot of the guys in the shop and learning how to fabricate and learning how to weld. And I just found out that I had a natural knack for it and fell in love with it. So that just progressed on and on and on, and worked in the shop. Then I started running a welding rig and welding boiler tubes, working in boilers, traveling the U.S., traveling the world, doing different things, and got very exposed at a young age. By the age of 24, I was running a whole crew of 15, 20 guys So not only a natural knack for just welding and fabrication, but also a natural knack for leadership and supervision. So I found that very early in age. So I was very, very blessed and very had a skill set for that kind of stuff.
Now, you said that you were thinking about college. You never went, or you did go.
No,
So
I
you
never
go.
felt like I was college material.
Why is that? Why do you think certain people just, and obviously more so today with the amount of money to go to college, people going into six-figure debt, the return on investment is not there. Why do you think some people, besides obviously the investment, why do you think some people are just not a fit for college?
For various reasons. First of all, the money aspect of it. It's so expensive, especially now these days. It's just ridiculous. Not only that, but I think just people are just not wired to stay in school, whatever the subject base is, for that period of long of time. I just felt like I was one of those. Just did not enjoy school that much. I always felt like I was more of an on hands guy, and learning to build something with my own hands. In fact, when I quit my full-time job, I had told my first wife, she was like, "Why in the world did you quit your job?" I said, "Look, I feel like I have gifted hands and I have a gifted mind, and I want to show the world what I can do. I really do. I want to show the world what I can do. I want to set the world on fire." And I had inspiration inside of me. I had drive, I had stamina.
Where's that coming from? Is that instilled in you? Do you think you were born like that? Like, not everybody's like that.
I agree. Not everyone's like that. It was just embedded in me. Yeah, I didn't have anybody that was a mentor or anyone that helped guide me. It was just, it's in my blood. It's in my blood to be a welder and be a skilled artist, and to be a fabricator, and to design stuff and build things all through my life. That's just what I enjoy, and I always felt like I was good at it.
Do you think you're a problem solver?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and for any aspect, just about. Yeah, other than marriage problems. You have marriage problems, don't come talk to me about that.
That's a different podcast.
Yes, it is. Yeah, I'm absolutely a problem solver. I get calls and emails all the time for people who have situations where they need someone to come in to help figure something out, draw something, or design something to get from point A to point B, or fix something from happening that's in a negative way, and I love doing that. I love getting those calls and going out to see clients and just developing new projects to solve people's problems.
Do you like being on the tech side, or do you like to, because we'll get into JK Welding and what the projects and things that you're doing.
So I cut my teeth on being in the field. I love being in the field. The tech side too, though. I like both sides of it. There are times when I get emails from people that are having difficulty in this and trying to develop something, and I love just sitting there, just gears turning, not wanting to know how can I do this, and I sit there and draw something, and I go meet with them, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I wanted. I just didn't know how to tell you." I've gotten that so many times, and I love doing that.
I think that's a skill you're kind of born with.
Yeah,
not everybody has that. Nobody can
Right.
kind of visualize that. I think
Yeah.
that's a certain I think you're programmed like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I have great visualization from taking problems and turn them into resolution.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about sort of the transition, because you were more in the field and then you started your own fabrication shop, or JK Welding. At what point did you shift over, and were you nervous because maybe you didn't have the right skill set at that point to run a business? Because running a business is very different than being in the field, and not everybody can learn that. What was it, you mentored or anything? Because you said that no one really helped you, but how did you make that shift?
I think it has a lot to do with just street smarts and common sense. Like I said, I didn't go to college, haven't taken any classes, haven't read any books about running a business. Just school of hard knocks, just learning along the way. When I first started out, was I scared? Was I nervous? Yeah, a little bit. And I've always felt like I've told people all the time, people that work for me and people I've met, if you ain't nervous, then you ain't doing it right. There's got to be a little bit nervous in you. Just try not to show it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You consider yourself an entrepreneur?
I do.
Yeah. See, I'm an entrepreneur too, and we're messed up in a good way.
Yeah.
Because we think differently.
Well, you're wired different.
Wired completely
Yes.
differently. My wife says to me all the time, "I don't know how you do what you do." I couldn't do that. I just can't do that. But I think we're a little screwed up in a good way.
Not screwed up in a CPA lawyer way,
Yeah,
or
but
as a car salesman. Yeah.
Yeah, but we visualize, we see things a little bit different,
Oh,
and we
yeah.
have big aspirations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Entrepreneur, yes. I've generated many companies over the years. Still have quite a few of them, sold a few of them. So yeah, it's embedded in me to, start businesses, be successful. There's nothing like going to work every day and creating something on your own, and you go home every day or think throughout the years, man, look what I did. I did something with my life, and just being so happy and proud about that.
Yeah, and that's inspirational. For the audience that's listening that maybe wants to go into entrepreneurship, maybe is in the field and wants to make that journey, what did you learn your first business that you sold? What did you learn, things that you were supposed to do versus the things that you were not supposed to do? Did you learn anything from that? Any sort of wisdom from that first business that you can share with the audience?
The number one thing is taking care of the customer, period. If you take good care of the customer, you're going to have a business. There's a lot of other things that follow in behind taking care of a customer, as far as meeting deadlines, quality, just getting things right, getting things done on time and getting them done right, and just making the customer happy. That's number one. Number two, taking care of the employees, because they take care of you. Absolutely. Yeah, they are the heart and soul of the company. I'm just the brain of it. I physically sign a check, but I really don't sign the check. The customer sign the checks. So if we all work together and take care of the customer, then we'll all have a job. Because we come to work every day not worrying about if we're going to get this job done. We're going to worry about how we're going to get all these jobs done each and every day. Yeah. Business has 3 P's in it. And that's going to be people, process, and project.
Sounds like the prophet.
Exactly.
Is it the prophet?
So if there was anyone, if I could answer your question, if there was anyone that was ever a mentor to me, but it was later in life, it's Marcus Lemonis.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Tell us who he is, because a lot of people don't know who he is.
I love that guy. Man, I'll tell you what, if you don't watch or know about Marcus Lemonis, you need to watch this guy. He is amazing. Absolutely amazing. He takes businesses that are falling down, or they're on the back cuff of closing, or shutting their business down. He comes in and revamps them, invests money, puts in new policies and procedures, and gets things back up and get going again, where they're successful and they're making money again. So if there ever was a mentor, it would be him. But yeah, exactly. 3 P's. That's where I actually get it from. It's from Marcus. And it's a true statement. If you have a proven process, you have a proven product, and you have good people, then there's the only thing left is the 4th P, which is profit. That will come automatically if you get the first 3 P's right.
It's not as easy as, it takes time.
Oh, yeah.
Everything takes time. And it's funny that you said Marcus Lemonis, because I used to watch The Prophet, or he was on, and I think he's just naturally gifted in what he does. But the people aspect is extremely important. How do you, for other business owners that are struggling with people, because that is always a challenge with most businesses, finding the right people to get on the bus. Because if you don't have them, you don't have a business and can't make customers happy. How do you find the right person for your organization? Like, what's the right fit? How do you know?
You will know immediately. If someone is somewhat controversial with you, or if you don't confide trust in them, or they do some things that are questionable that are trustworthy, they need to be gone instantly. Because you need to move on to the next one to find the next one. If that one doesn't work out, then you have to move on to the next one. There's no right ingredients or right, correct, proper way to go about finding the exact person you need first time, every time. You have to go through a process to find the right one. And when you do, better take care of them. Take care of them very well.
Yeah, we got to retain them somehow. But it's not all wages.
No,
right. There's other
it's not.
pieces and parts. What other pieces and parts besides the money aspect you think keep people?
It's from the little things to the big things. Benefits are a great factor, in a business. There's a lot of things that I do for my employees that other people may do and may not do. I find that there's a lot of things that I do that other people don't do because I read about it all the time on social media, little things to big things, like every July and August, I have the snow cone truck come every Wednesday. It's just a little treat. We have big Christmas parties. We give out tens of thousands of dollars of Christmas gifts and bonuses at Christmas every year. There's times when we have a record month, I take everybody to lunch, or I have lunch brought in and catered, and not just ordering pizza, like something a little bit more than that, to show your appreciation, giving back to the employees. That's important. Those are the important things that I like doing for my people. We just had our 20-year anniversary May 1st.
20 years.
Yeah. I quit my job May 1st, 2005. So May 1st, 2025, we had a 20-year anniversary. And I picked the number 8. Anybody who had been at JK Welding for 8 years or longer got a really nice watch, men's watch, and different values of bonuses that I gave out. And it really hit me when I went to get up on the mic to start introducing employees to come get their gift for service to the company. There were 16 of them. I was like, holy crap, it's like touching for me to have that many guys to be with me for that long. And I had one guy with me for 15 years. So it's rather satisfying.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. It's a good.
It is.
It's a good feeling to give back. It's very challenging to run a business. I ran a business for 25 years. I mean, it's most businesses fail within the first few years, right? You're lucky if you make it in the first 5 years, right? What do you think? Where do you think, besides people, where else do you think people miss the mark in a business, in a trades business? Because the trades can be very profitable, but if you're not running it right, what do you think is a couple misses besides people in their business?
Well, there's a lot of things that people ask me, and the biggest thing I think people ask me is, hey, what is the one thing that you've done that be successful? And I'll tell them, hey, there's not one thing. There's not. It's a full variety of things. It's like a washing machine. You've got to throw it all in there and mix it all together because it comes from so many different directions, from networking to being on social media, having a good website, being as far as interactive with your fans or followers or clients and customers. Interaction with the customers is very important. Being involved with the community is one of them as well. And I think if you put in enough effort to go out to do each one of those things, it will come back to you tenfold every time.
It's hard to scale a business, right? When you're doing everything, and especially if you're a technician. This is not everybody, but some people get caught up in the weeds. Like they like to be the technician. They don't want to be the business owner or the operator. Was it hard for you to make that shift from sort of technician to business owner? Because you can't be everywhere and you can't do everything. You need to rely on other people. Did that shift take you some time to get used to?
It did. And I think when we really advanced into our new facility, that's when I kind of drew more of a heavier line than ever before. When you start realizing, man, we're becoming a bigger company, a corporation now. So there's some things that we used to do or things we used to say before that we can no longer do anymore because we got to get our stuff together. We've got to look more professional, act more professional, present ourselves more professional. And I think there comes a point where you have to, and as an owner, you have to start separating yourself somewhat. But you can only do that when you start delegating orders to the right personnel and you have the right people in place. Having trust, knowing that they're going to take care of the company. Because they don't work for me. They work for the company, And I've always believed that.
Yeah. And it's difficult as a business owner because you take it home with you. Everyone else leaves, but you take it home with you. And sometimes, even when you're away or on a vacation, you take it with you. How do you sort of, do you put down the phone or do you kind of get yourself mindset out of that work mode?
For many years, I would always take the phone with me. I still do but it doesn't go off or ring as much because I've delegated personnel into good positions with good people. So there's times where they know I'm away from the office. Don't call Mr. King. Don't Don't text him, don't call him, he's busy. And I don't really ask for that. It's just a respect thing. And because everybody has jobs to do, they have duties to do, they have responsibilities, and they fulfill those responsibilities. And as long as you have trustworthy employees working for you and they fulfill their responsibilities, then your phone will ring less. Now, don't get me wrong, my phone rang like crazy for the first 10 years, day and night. And I still take it home with me now. And that's only because really no one's butt's on the line but mine at the end of the day. We could close the company and everybody could walk away but me. I can't walk away. This is my life.
Not many people want to take that risk. That's why I call us like a little bit screwed up, because we believe we can get to a certain place. One thing that was always instilled to me in a lot of business groups that I frequently would go to is that always plan with the end in mind, meaning your exit. And a lot of new business owners don't think about that. They just, I want to just have my business, but thinking about what your exit plan is. Do you think business owners should be thinking about what it looks like, a few years down the road, or just kind of?
Some people may be thinking about that. I've never thought about that. I don't even think about that now, even at the age that I am, and even after 20 years, it's not a thought that crosses my mind. I don't know why. Recently, I guess I've thought about it once or twice, but it's not something that I focus on. And I was never that way in the beginning, in the middle, or the end. I'm always being concerned about the next client, the next job, strategizing and seeing, scheduling what we need to do next, and just multitasking so far ahead to where things just fall in place so nicely that things is more like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it's all about. Like you said, having the process and the people, that's really what it's all about. And as long as you have again, going back to the right people and having the processes in place, you can get to a certain level that you want to. And it's great that you want to stay in, and you should, if you're passionate about it. My father was in hardware distribution for 55 years and retired, didn't know what the hell to do with himself. Like, he didn't know what to do with himself. Like, that was his like who he was. And when he retired, it's like, what am I going to do? Play golf every day? I want to do something. So I even think like retiring is almost like, well, what now?
That's been a thought, especially here in the last couple of weeks. Like people are like, when are you going to retire? I'm like, I don't know. And when I do, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know. I have other companies that I'll probably hold on to that are smaller that I guess will give me a few things to do.
Yeah, keep you busy.
Keep me busy somewhat. But then again, I have employees that have responsibilities there too. You can't always just butt in or show up and just start taking over. Then you start discouraging employees, because they have a job to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has family ever taken interest in your business at all?
No.
No, it's not.
I have one boy, my oldest boy. He's 24.
Not a welder?
No, he's a welder.
Oh, he's a welder.
He works at the Trails West Gate Company.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a welder. I don't know what the future holds for him, but he's doing well. He's a welder and a fabricator. He went to A&M, and he actually changed his major his last year of college. And he came to me at Christmas time 2 years ago, and he's like, Dad, I want to change. I said, well, what do you want to do? He goes, I want to be a welder. I said, okay, why? He said, well, I see what you do, and I see what you have. I said, that's the wrong answer. Why do you want to be a welder? He says, for the money. I said, that's wrong. He's like, why? I said, son, you need to have passion for the trade. Because if you have passion for the trade, and you like it and you love it, the money will come automatically. So you need to worry about money last and worry about passion first. And I think he understood. But he's doing well. He's manufacturing and welding gates and installing gates at ranches, and he's having a good time.
That's good. It's interesting that you follow suit in what your family does sometimes. So do you feel, just shifting gears, do you feel like we're turning a corner when it comes to the shortage of welders today? Again, I want to go back to what we can do as leaders in the community to reach really the younger generation. Where are we not? I guess, where are we hitting the ceiling, basically? What are we not doing that we should be doing as leaders?
I don't know the answer to that, Andrew. I really don't. And I don't know anybody who really does, to be honest with you. If someone has an answer, I'd love to hear it. I live it each week, every month. I live it all the time. I'll give you an example. We put an ad out for a welding position, as we have done hundreds of times throughout the last 20 years. Get 84 applications, and this just happened recently. 84 applications. I reviewed them myself. I picked 14. I call in 11 to come interview. 7 show up. I hire 6. Only 1 shows up, and he lasted a day. That's shocking.
That's shocking.
Not only is that shocking, but that happened twice. Yeah, week after week. Just people showing up is a big problem.
So just getting to the interview or just accepting the position and showing up the first day.
It's a far larger problem than you could ever imagine. Yeah. And I can tell you that because I live it. And that's happened many, many times. There's times where we just have 2 or 3 interviews. Nobody shows up. And it ain't just me calling. I have general foremans calling, superintendents calling, scheduling, the girl up front, the admin girl scheduling interviews. You know, of course, we do a screening with them. Hey, do you live in the area? Because Houston's a big city. So if you live on the opposite side of town, we're probably not going to hire you because the traffic and the toll fees and the gas is just too much to get to work on time. So we do a screening. Where do you live? You know, do you do flux core welding? Can you read, any kind of blueprints? Can you read a measuring tape? Because we get that. You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. So we do a little screening, and if they pass all the questions that we ask, usually 5 or 6 questions, and we schedule an interview. And I would say probably 65, 70% of the time they don't even show up.
They don't show up.
Nope, not at all. That's a true fact.
I'm still trying to get over the tape measure oppression.
Oh my gosh. Hey,
I guess apprentices don't.
I had 5 guys, not naming any names. I had 5 guys working for me in the shop. There's like 50 guys in the shop. And these particular 5 guys, younger guys, all 5 of them went to a welding school. All 5 of them, their parents paid for their welding school they went to. Their welding school varied from 3 months to a year. And they all graduated from all their welding schools. But the one thing that all 5 of them could not do was read a tape.
Even going to welding school?
Even going to welding
What?
school.
I don't get it.
I don't either. I really don't. So instead of getting frustrated and mad as I've done over the years, like getting frustrated with that kind of thing, I just sat back for a minute and said, you know what? I'm going to take the time to show and teach these guys. Even though they went to school and their parents paid all this money, I gathered them all up, brought them into the conference room. And I drew an inch on the board, really large, but I didn't put any numbers on it. And I would just point to a line. And I did that 4 or 5 times. Nobody could tell me a measurement within 1 inch, whether it was 3/8 or 5/8 or whatever it was. So I said, look, I drew a dollar bill. Then I drew a gas tank. And then I drew a clock. I said, you know what all 4 of these have in common? And nobody knew. I said, they all have quarters. Quarter of a tank of gas. How many quarters are in a dollar? Now you understand we all have quarters and everything. Let's split the quarter in half. That's 1/8 of an inch. And so we started making track. And within 30 minutes, they understood. And they could read a tape. And they all shook my hand and were so happy and went back to work. But now I have employees that can read measuring tapes. I left very satisfied and very happy with the fact that I did that to help somebody.
Well, that's inspiring. Well, it's a little bit scary that they don't know how to, coming out of like a welding school. Are you seeing, and if you want to give me your honest take, like even though the kids are coming out of welding school, I'm not going to name schools.
Sure, me neither.
Are they not getting the right skill set? Are some of these schools pitching, well, you'll definitely get a job, come to our school, invest this kind, because some of it's it's a hefty investment in. Are they just, because I see it on social media a lot, and where a kid will go to a welding school, but then will complain that they can't find a job. And then they say they can't find a job, and then their pushback is, well, the employer's looking for 3 to 5 years experience. I don't have 3 to 5 years experience. Is that happening out there where employers are asking for too much experience where these kids don't, and they don't want to train anybody up?
That's all based upon the position they're trying to fulfill. It's possibly they're trying to fulfill because, as you've stated many times on your post, There's guys that are retiring with 30, 40, 50 years. So they're trying to get someone who at least has 3 to 5 to even have a chance to fulfill one shoe of the guy who's retiring with 30 or 40 years, hoping to have some kind of skill set rather than just come in fully green and have to pay the guy and train him fully.
So they don't want to train them, do you think? They just
I don't know. I can only speak for myself. A lot of the guys that I have are just they're old hands, not as in age, but as in they're very seasoned. They're veterans. Most of my hands are like that. I have some young guys working for me, yes, and they're learning, and we do show them the ropes. We don't necessarily sit with them and weld with them for 8 hours. No, like a welding school, that's not the case. But they are learning as far as fabrication and welding in the company. There's just a lot of guys, a lot of companies, I think, that are just looking to fulfill those veterans that are retiring, and we're short, 84,000 welders a year for 330,000? Is that right?
Yeah, almost got the numbers right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what we're looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and what happens is these companies don't want to hire somebody new. The newbies don't get the job. They complain. And then there's lost productivity because those people retire out of that company. So why don't organizations look at it where, and I threw this out when I spoke last time at the welding summit, that, what is your zero experience policy on people who are coming out of welding school? They don't have the experience yet, but maybe they have the soft skills, but you can teach them the technical skills. It's like this push-pull thing.
It is exactly push-pull. Yep. And you can't really blame the companies all out 100%. I mean, it's a liability hiring someone green, and depending on what position you put them in. If you're hiring someone at a skill level of 2 and you're putting them in a position at skill level 8, it's a liability. Get yourself in trouble later on. Bad products causes customers to go away. Customers go away, downfall in business. Downfall in business means you close the doors. So it's a happy medium. You got to find that happy medium. You got to find out where that's at and how to get there with the people that are available if they show up.
If they show up. How important is mentorship?
It's very important. Yeah. At JK Welding, we do a lot of cross training. So a lot of the younger guys are sometimes getting to spend some time with the veterans or the guys that are more seasoned.
How quickly does that happen in your organization? So if somebody is onboarded on a Monday, do they start sitting with them right away, or is it?
It's usually down the road.
Down the road.
Yeah. It's usually down the road. We need to get a feel. We need to capture a feel of someone, capture a feel of their skill set, their mindset, capture a feel of their character, of who they are, if they care, if they want to be there. And there's times we hire guys and after a week, we're like, this guy doesn't want to be here. It's very obvious, So we've already invested that time if we would have put them with the mentorship, and we lose that instant. So, when we hire people, they come and get a check once a week. Well, you're getting paid for your services, but we're also paying you because we are investing money into you by paying you so you can learn. So you can learn more and more so you can become more of an asset to the company. And I tell guys that all the time. If you're a welder, great, but become more. Become a fabricator. Be able to read blueprints. There's so many people I run across that know how to weld, and they're very good welders. And if they want to be just a welder, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with being just a welder. But advance yourself. Become an asset. Become more valuable, because when it comes time to when they do layoffs, when there's a slowdown, they're not going to lay you off because you've become more valuable, because you know more. If you don't know your math, go back to school. Stay in school. Know your math. Know your geometry. Know your trig. It falls back to the same thing with measuring tapes. Learn your numbers. Learn your measuring tape, You don't have to be a mathematician, but understand your numbers. That's important. And then that's not only important at work. That's important at home. You get married and have kids and they buy a dog. Who's going to build a doghouse? It ain't the guy who can't read a measuring tape.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, these are basic skills that you can
Basic
use.
life skills.
Yeah, basic life skills.
Yep.
And not everybody knows.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
For the audience that's listening that is interested in welding, but really wants to excel and make a lot of money, what are some of the paths that are, I guess, yield the biggest result wage-wise out there that you can recommend that you've seen?
Well, that has a lot to do with the fact if you have a family at home, because some of the bigger, larger wage factors of making money has to do with you being away from home. If you got a family at home, you got kids and a wife, it's going to be hard and difficult. I get a lot of messages weekly from guys who want to get off the road because they got kids at home. And it was great and fun but when they were single, and it was probably okay when they were just married. But when you have kids, that throws a whole nother wrench in the fire. And they want to be home with their kids because they start missing birthdays. They start missing Christmas. They're out making that money. And that's the biggest money maker there is. A lot of pipeline and welders are like that, and there's a lot of guys I know that still do it, and they're not at home as much, and they're okay with it. Everybody's wired different. Everybody has different arrangements within their own marriage and their own family. But as far as the big money factors, pipelining and doing shutdowns, being away from home, that's where the guys make their money. If you're wanting to stay at home with family and the wife, but make good money, aerospace, welding is really good. Being a pipe welder at a company, especially running, alloys, running TIG on different alloys and being a top hand and stainless pipe welding, there's a lot of money in that. You make up well over six figures doing that stuff.
And the guys that go remote, that leave home, what can they see? What, way into the six figures?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, you don't even have to be a pipeliner, but the pipeliner guys make really good money. Because it's a skill set that very few have. Being slick Rick, throwing them beads down in that pipeline, and laying down in the mud and in the rain.
That's not easy work.
That's not easy work.
Not easy work.
No, it's not at all. Those guys running shutdowns and doing pipelines and doing all that kind of stuff. Out of town work is where it pays, with the per diem and the overtime. Anytime I worked out of town, I don't want to work 8 hours. Man, I want to work 12 to 16 hours a day. That's what I want to do because I want to get the job done. I want to make as much money as I can in the shortest period of time as possible.
That's really not easy for someone, like you said, who has a family, and it changes the game and, being out there and, traveling, and it's not easy on the home life, unless you have something arranged that it works out for you. But for most people, it's challenging, especially with kids.
If you're single, give it hell. That's all I can tell you. Give it hell. Make all you can, because more than likely you're not going to be single all your life. There's nothing like getting old and being by yourself.
Yeah, you always need a plus one.
You always do.
John, is there anything else that we have not covered that you'd want to talk about? Something work-wise or anything that we haven't touched upon?
All I can tell you is be good to your family and make as much money as you can and praise the Lord above us. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. If you're going to go do something, do it well. Do it the best you can, and money will come automatically to you later in life.
Yeah. I like the advice that you gave with your son and the passion. Not the money first. The money will come. Passion.
And, and that goes for anything. That doesn't just pertain to welding. If you like being a carpenter, then you should be, and you better be good at it. Because when's the last time you knew of someone that did something they don't like doing? They don't do it very long. I can't remember the last time I did something bad or something I didn't like doing and I kept doing it and doing it. You find something that you're good at that you enjoy, and then you never work a day in your life.
You double down on that if you can, as long as you can make money with it. Yes.
Double down.
Double down on it.
Yeah, become better at it. Just become a professional.
Yeah.
Master it. Yeah. And it will come easier to you. And so with that paycheck every Friday.
John, this has been a great conversation. If people want to find out more about JK Welding, online, website, where do they go?
jkwelding.net. You can check us out on any social media as far as Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, all the social media platforms. Catch me and JK Welding on LinkedIn. We have a great LinkedIn appearance and a lot of followers, and social media marketing guy. Have to tap my hat to him. He does a great job for us.
Yeah, and definitely check out JK Welding's LinkedIn. You have some really interesting photos in the work that you do, so definitely check that out.
Thank you.
John, it's been a blast having you on the show. Enjoy Fab Tech, and thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.